Now let's dive deep into the big LGBT story for today. I'm Raji Narayan Singh, and let's queer up trans rights. Trans pride flag flies high on El Capitan to protest anti-trans efforts. In a breathtaking act of pride and protest, a massive trans pride flag has been unfurled on El Capitan, the iconic granite mammoth in California's Yosemite National Park. The 55 by 35 foot banner, the largest ever hung from this famous climbing wall, is part of a bold initiative called Trans is Natural. Organizers say the action is, quote, a celebration of trans belonging in nature, in community, and everywhere, end quote. The initiative also takes direct aim at the Trump administration's ongoing efforts to erase trans lives from public institutions, including government websites, education systems, and libraries, and its documented discrimination against queer and trans employees of the National Park Service. Patty Gornia, a lead organizer, drag queen, and environmentalist, said, quote, we flew the trans pride flag in Yosemite to make a statement. Trans people are natural and trans people are loved. Let this flag fly higher than hate. We are done being polite about trans people's existence. Call it protest, call it a celebration. Either way, it's giving elevation to liberation, end quote. The display follows the first known all-trans ascent of El Capitan by climbers Nati Indo and Juniper Wells in June 2023, and echoes of February protests when an upside-down U.S. flag, a signal of national distress, was hung from the same rock face in response to cuts to the Park Service. Climber and ally Nate Vance, who helped raise both flags, said, quote, trans people are my friends. I step up when my friends need help, and we all need to step up right now for trans people.
Carry hate. We carry the largest trans pride flag to ever be flown in a national park, and unfurled it on the side of El Cap to prove a point that trans is natural. The Trump administration and transphobes would love to have you believe that being trans is unnatural, but species that can transition sexes can be found on every continent and in every ocean on planet Earth. So call it a protest, call it a celebration. We are bringing elevation to liberation. They try to erase us from government websites and education systems and libraries. So we raise this flag higher than ever before, so every trans person knows that they have people that love them in their corner. The people united will never be defeated.
Well, I think this is awesome. I really do. It's so great to see this happening because as a transgender person maneuvering in the world, I certainly have felt the backlash. I mean, it has not been fun. And even just going to the market for me can be a struggle because I'm very intuitive. And I'm an empath, and I pick up on energy, and I know when people are being shady or, you know, there's like disdain or hatred. I pick it up right away. I see them a mile away. And so it's really something that is important, and it makes me know that there are people that care about us. Thank God I live in a community where it's somewhat insulated and we have such a vibrant community. I don't know if I was living somewhere else where we didn't have the type of things that go on here, how I would fare. So I'm really, really happy that this is happening. And I just, you know, I'm tired. I'm tired. Yeah, I'm tired of like trying to justify my beingness over and over again. Right. I'm a trans woman of a certain age. Let's say I've been around the block a number of times. And, you know, I thought we were done with the fight. Right. Like, damn, you know, blood, sweat, and tears. And like, I was so happy when I started to see a progression of the trans civil rights movement to now see this backlash. And like, it seems like we're taking like 10, 20, 30 steps backwards. But I do know we are resilient people. And I transitioned in a time where there were zero resources and hardly any rights, no rights, zero rights. So I did it, and I'm sure we can make it through, because we have the strength and the resilience. We trans people can make lemon meringue pie out of lemons.
And you do. And you do,
Yeah.
And again, I mean, this is definitely a protest, and I love it in every single way, right? Everybody knows that our trans siblings are the most attacked, okay?
Yeah.
You folks and also queer children,
Yes.
This is a beautiful protest, and we need things like this. And again, a trans woman, a drag queen leading the
Yes.
effort for this. Again, where do we learn our things? We need to learn everything from the trans community and from the drag community, giving a big shout out going out to Patagonia. What is the name of the drag queen that's out there always posting stuff over there at Yosemite? And we're everywhere. We are everywhere. We are some of those park rangers that were dismissed because of funds. They were LGBTQ also, so things like this are just so important.
I love the correlation between having the trans flag on a national monument such as Yosemite as a natural park. To branch that correlation between trans is natural. What a great correlation the two of those have. And it breaks my heart to, hear you say things like that, because I know that we've had conversations about, you being at the airport, and being treated differently, or, being in the ER, and being treated differently. And it's like, do you need me to come, there with you? And I'm always going to be there for you, whenever you need, us. And in a time where, you should be enjoying your life, and enjoying, all the hard work that's been put in for decades. You're still in the fight, and we're in this fight with you together.
Thank you so much for saying that.
And the church, I shouldn't limit it. The church is just what I know, but also other religions, but is what is weaponized against minority populations, whether it's gay or whether it's trans or whether it's immigrants or whatever. It's always, there's some religious reason. It's bullshit. There's never really a religious reason. It's just something that they think, if I say God says it, you can't question me. That's supposed to end the conversation. God didn't say anything. So I want people to know that if the reason they're uncomfortable is because they've heard something, some Bible verse or some silliness, the Bible, very first page, shows a man giving birth to a woman. The very first woman comes from the side of a man. There's no woman to provide the double X chromosome. So this man gives birth to a woman. So this woman, fully female appearing, identified woman at birth, won't have a double X chromosomal pairing because she didn't have a mother, right? That's the first page. That's the first page. Also, within the first couple pages, if you were looking in the languages they were written in, one of the names for God, Elohim, is both masculine and feminine, and their pronoun is they, their, them. So no, it's not the Bible. It's not. It's quote whatever myth you want to, whatever verse you want to, whatever tradition you want to, but that is not an excuse, and it's certainly not a mandate to be cruel to people. So screw you.
Yeah.
I've been here in South Florida for 7 years now, and I represent older, privileged, white, gay guy on Wilton Drive. And that's what I represent. And over the course of the last 7 years, and I've talked about this in many different ways, before I came here, I wasn't sure I even knew a trans person, and have said that. When I ran the RuPaul cruises, the only person that we allowed to perform outside of a RuPaul queen on RuPaul's World of Wonder cruises, the only person invited was Misty Eyes. And Misty Eyes has very publicly said, Al didn't know until like the third cruise that I was trans. Al thought I was a drag queen. And Misty is correct. And I look back at those days and think, oh my goodness, I was so woefully ignorant. But in the 7 years that I have been here, I have committed to learning and understanding, and most of all, try to be better on trans. Try to use the correct language, try to understand what the representation should be, how our trans community would like to be treated and respected. And I ask no kudos for that. I just say that is absolutely what is required of all of us. That leads us to today. There is no community in America that the leadership of America, the leadership in Florida, is trying to extinguish. The attacks on trans are not to marginalize, they are to extinguish
silence and erase. It's absolutely evil.
The community. It's absolutely evil. And the thing that I think, first off, Raji, for anyone to attack you, it breaks my heart, because you're one of the finest hearts that I have ever met.
Thank you, Al. Thank you.
And you deserve nothing but respect. And in a time when there were no resources for you, you knew who and what you were, and you did everything you could to pursue it. And all of the documentation through the years proves that point, because nobody would go through what they went through if that person wasn't real.
Exactly.
And that's what I have learned about you. And at the end of the day, the final note that I make about this protest at Yosemite, congratulations. It's a beautiful, beautiful representation of protest. I'm frequently disappointed about how white, privileged, gay men on Welton Drive stand up for the trans community. Because at the end of the day, our history shows the success of marginalizing a community to become undemocratic and then do even worse. You only have to read the history of Nazi Germany in 1939 to go, wait.
Is that allowed anymore?
Yeah.
Is that history allowed to be taught anymore?
And that's what I hear when you go, God, I really thought it was over.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just starting. And there's a battle here. And the conclusion is going to be eradication, or we're going to win. There's probably no middle.
No
That's
middle.
that's what that symbol is. It's when they climb. We will be seen. We will be heard. That's what that is, and that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I just got to point this out as a trans person. I love the natural. Trans is natural because we have been here. We have a history, even though they tried. Right.
of the Bible.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you look at nature, there are transgender creatures.
Yes.
There are 2 in 1, male and female together. So if it exists in nature, why wouldn't it exist in us human beings?
The reason I have
we're
trouble
part of
with
nature.
what you're even saying is it comes from a place of you have to justify yourself.
Right.
You do not.
You don't have
Yeah.
to explain
You don't
yourself.
have to
Raji.
explain yourself.
And you know what? I found that oftentimes what I've done is I've tried to take these situations as opportunities to educate people instead of getting angry and indignant and storming away or cussing out somebody.
So you don't want to be me.
Sometimes you have to. Well, sometimes I have to bring the bitch Raji out.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, like a lot of times I can educate, even if I plant a little seed and there's like a beginning of a bridge of understanding.
It's something. You're planting the seed.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah.
like these people on Yosemite, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Plant the seed. Maybe somebody that's never even seen a trans flag or
yes.
doesn't know what your community is going through. All right.
Or they've
That's
only read the
planting
horrible
seed.
comments
Right.
in social media and think that there is some truth to it. Donald Trump spent almost $100 million on the presidential election on the topic of trans sports.
Yeah.
Which impacts life,
There are
not
10.
at all.
There are 10 trans athletes right now playing. Okay, 10.
You
that's
don't
what they're
do that
fighting
if
for.
it's not a winning strategy.
Right.
And they have,
There's some
my
gain in it for
segment-
them.
Exactly. My segment of privilege, I know there's people listening to these words hating me for saying it, but privileged white gay men on Welton Drive hate this conversation because at the end of the day, you don't spend $100 million on a topic so insignificant of this unless you're trying to accomplish something really terrible.
And that's my job, is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable.
Yeah.
So,
Right. And you do that so very well, Bishop. Thank you. And that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.